Hey y'all, welcome to session 11. It's not really a lesson, it's more of just like the next step in the process. We're going to expand your vignette right now. So basically, we have a quick write. You've done lots of really good work. We've done quick writes on 3 different vignettes. You've selected one. We figured out what makes the story compelling. You've started gathering photos, but we haven't actually expanded your vignette from your quick write into like a real story. So what I want to do is I want to build off of like what we already know and the skills we already have from watching all the digital stories we've watched, and we need to develop this into a full story. Now, it doesn't have to follow any rules. I'm not going to give you like a minute minimum or maximum. It doesn't have to have a beginning, a middle, or an end. Like, as you can see from the stories we've already learned, there's no rules to this. It's your story, and you have total control over how you do that. But what we want to do is we want to build this out and use this document as a collaborative writing tool to make your story full and to communicate what you want to communicate and get the emotions from your audience that you want. So just a few reminders. Remember, vignettes are all about sensory details, so try to include as many of those as you can. Remember, what's the emotion you're trying to elicit from your audience? And then what's the purpose of your story? Like, why are you choosing to tell this story? So here's a few tips I have for you. Down below, I literally just have a few boxes, your quick write, your first draft, second draft, and final draft. You don't have to fill all these boxes, but what I would suggest is this. Our competency is growth. So if you just like start editing your quick draft, it's just going to keep changing the document, and we're just going to have at the end like the final version, and we're not going to be able to see all of the different phases of your story development. So here's my suggestion to you. I would go back to session 6 called My Life in Vignettes. I would copy and paste the quick write that you chose, and I would put it right here in the quick write. Then what I would do is I would copy and paste that down to the first draft, and I would do your first kind of like rough draft right there. When it seems like you're in a good spot, wherever you kind of take a pause, what I would do is I would take your first draft, I would copy it and paste it down to your second draft, and then I would keep developing that. And the purpose of this is that in the end, we can hopefully have at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 different drafts showing like your growth in developing your story. And this is going to be killer evidence to bring to your exhibition that's really going to show where you started and then where you ended. The last thing I'll say on session 11 is that the next step in our process is going to be to storyboard what our digital story is going to be. And basically all that is it's taking your text, your narration, your speaking, and we're chunking it out into like little boards, if you think of them, and figuring out what's the image that we're going to have, and then what's the text that's going to go along with that image. So it's kind of like a planning stage for your for a movie. Every filmmaker does this, and it helps people figure out the sequence and what's going to be on the screen and for how long and with what words. Excuse me. So I'm going to post that lesson pretty quick so you can take a peek at it if you want a little preview. But keep this document open. I'm going to post this on Classroom as a copy. So don't turn it in. Well, I guess you can turn it in when you want me to look at it, but it's going to be a document that kind of goes back and forth between you and me. And hopefully we'll develop a really killer story for you in session 11.